Good afternoon. My name is Janice Ritchie, and I'm from Douglas County High School, and I'm here to talk to you today a little bit about ways to engage your students in marketing concepts through vocabulary and foldables. All right, so today we're going to be talking a little bit about vocabulary strategies, foldables, and then I've also provided at the end of this PowerPoint links and resources for you to be able to start working on ways to incorporate some of these strategies into your classroom. I hope you enjoy. First, let's talk about why teaching vocabulary is important. Watch this video. Great. I hope you enjoyed that video. If any of you have been new to a district or just new to some kind of organization and you've been in the middle of a meeting and people are using words and phrases that you don't understand, you know how it feels when you don't quite understand what's going on. You don't feel as like you're going to be successful and you feel like you aren't prepared. So we want our students to feel successful and we want them to feel prepared. So good review of vocabulary will really help them in marketing. As you know, especially in marketing principles, a lot of it is vocabulary. So why is learning vocabulary important? It helps our students to feel successful. It helps them to better understand the content, and it actually helps them improve their study skills for other classes. So there's 3 ways that I use in my classroom to improve vocabulary. That includes research or finding meaning for the words, visual representations, and then of course review and practice. Today I'm going to share with you some examples of ways that you can do all 3 of these things. First, we're going to talk a little bit about the brain-based strategies or finding meaning. This is when you ask the students to actually look up, locate information that represents what they think the meaning of the word is. It can be after they have the definition. It can be while they have the definition and they're putting a match to it with pictures. But here are a few ways that I do it. I use foldables, which we're going to get into in a little while later. I use a lot of vocabulary to picture activities, whether it's putting different pictures for each of the words into a PowerPoint, create it in a table, do a word chart, which can be on paper. And then they can draw something. You can also, of course, do things where you put it into sentences or into acrostics. So another thing that you could do is the visual designs or use songs, poems, and cartoon strips, which we'll get to. So another thing that I like to do is visual representation. Visual representation has to do with using something that you can see, obviously, like art or design or pictures, to represent the meaning of the word. There's a lot of research out there that shows that using this encourages higher order thinking. It encourages the student has to have an idea of the meaning of the word, and it really helps them to remember it. So some examples of visual representations that I use is during a merchandising unit or when I'm talking about restaurants. I may have the students do a layout and I may have them look at the different selling spaces. I may have them label the different areas or different positions. I also, when we're going over like the different types of displays and signage, I'll have them create a PowerPoint that has examples of all the different types of visuals that are used in the display in a store. Another way that I use visual representation is when we do the 7 functions of marketing. For instance, I'll have them come up with something that has 7 pieces, maybe 7 pieces of pizza, a 7-layer cake, 7 balloons, a caterpillar with 7 pieces, and for each piece they label the function of marketing, and on the back of that piece they write the definition. So this is a great way for them to practice and remember the words. They also get to be artistic this way. Another thing I've done in the past is a communication process diagram. So I will have them create the diagram and then use pictures to represent the meaning of each of the different parts of the communication process, as well as I use a lot of collages. For instance, the different types of transportation. Coloring, drawing, and word associations are other ways that you can use visual representation. You can do flip cards like you see up here, the vocabulary associations. You can play a really fun game where you have the students compete to see who can come up with the fastest drawing for a word or a meaning that when you give a definition, kind of like Pictionary. Next, here's another example, word personalities. I think I would use this for a group, maybe a unit, where you use social media pages to represent maybe different words in the unit that are important. For instance, the branding unit, maybe logo, brand mark, trademark, some of those words that are kind of hard for them to understand the difference. That would be a great way to use this. Some ways to review vocabulary. When reviewing vocabulary, this is really important for students to keep remembering the vocabulary as we go along, and kinesthetic learning really helps them to practice the words. So there's a lot of different ways that you can do this. I have a list of games here: checkers, fly swatter, bingo, Pictionary, memory matching game, charades. All of these things require kinesthetic movement throughout the classroom, working in teams, or even working in just in groups. So there's a lot of different activities. All of the links for these are at the bottom of this PowerPoint. So if you don't know how to do them, you can try to use them in your class. I highly recommend using them. All right, finally, for online review and practice, this is something you could use as a ticket out the door every day. I like to use Study Stack because it allows the kids to choose different ways to review. And then occasionally I'll have like a competition. I'll take fruit snacks from the school store. I'll have them take the Study Stack and create a quiz. And if they get an A or B on the quiz, then they get a fruit snack. And we usually do this about the last 10 minutes of class, and it's a great way for them to see if they're getting ready for the test. So hopefully you guys have found these methods something that you are thinking about using in your classroom. Section 2 is using foldables. So foldables are similar as to some of the activities we were talking about for vocabulary. Getting the students engaged, getting the kids to actively work with the words, with the information, helps them to remember it. Foldables are a great way to help them organize information. I used a lot of foldables this year in class, and the kids really seem to like them, and they don't feel like they're really doing work. They feel like it's a project. So one of the big pioneers, also called the Queen of Foldables, is Dina Zeek. She says that a foldable is a 3D student-made interactive graphic organizer based upon a skill or concept. According to her, making a foldable gives students a fast kinesthetic activity that helps them organize and retain information. And as you can see, this example right here is really cute. So I was thinking this would be a great way to do like customer profiles and do something like that. Instead of having the big paper that I've done before, I really like that idea. I think I'm doing it this year. All right, so why foldables? First of all, they're fun and motivating. They're hands-on, which kids like. They're a way to use it as a study guide as well. Students have a sense of ownership because they can be creative. They can do it their own way. The information is organized in a way that it makes them easier to understand the concepts and connect them. It's not a boring worksheet. Students can apply the strategies that they're learning. The engagement exceeds traditional handouts. It reaches all learners, so it can be used for differentiation. It can also be used as an assessment. Foldable examples. So for instance, some of the ways that I use foldables at the beginning of the very first day. When I want to kind of get to know who the kids are, I have them create license plates, which is basically folding the paper hot dog style. And on the front, they write their name, they design it kind of like a logo, they have symbols and pictures that they've drawn that helps kind of talk about who they are, and they get to color these in, and then they go around the room and introduce themselves, and so they have a visual aid. So not only did this let them be creative, it's a way for them to have an icebreaker and get to know each other. They can be they get to tell us a little bit about something, they're practicing their presentation skills, and they're also learning a little bit about how the procedures work in my room. Where are the supplies? How do you get them? Where do you put them? How do you work together? Do we work at the tables? That kind of thing. So it's actually a good first couple days activity. I also use flip books for the marketing research process and the selling process. And in this case, I just have the name of the step, and then I have what happens during the step, and then I have them do a symbol. So this is really a good way. I really believe that when students are using their hands and manipulatives helps them to remember. So that's a really good activity. Interactive notebooks are where you take all of these things that you're making as you go along and put it all into the notebook throughout the year. And you can grade everything that way. They can turn their work in that way every day if you want them to. I know teachers that do this religiously. I'm not as well organized as that. So some people are better at these things than others. Cubes and column charts. Column charts. I use these for 5-minute warm-ups. When we come in, like for instance, the types of decision making, when we're looking at that unit, I'll have the kids fold a piece of paper into 3. At the top, I'll write the 3 types of decision making, and then I'll have them list different items under each category. It's a really simple, easy warm up, and it's a great way to review what we did the class period before. Fortune tellers, that's kind of fun. It's a great way to have the kids kind of design something and then have them review for a quiz, or have them kind of have their teammates try to play. It's a fun thing to do. Lab books. This is something that one of the other teachers shared this summer, and I thought it was such a great idea that I'm for sure going to use it. And it was just where they could make a trifold display that fit on their lap. And I thought, how smart is that? Because then you could have them do individual ones for smaller projects if you didn't want them to work in a group. So I thought that was really a great way, maybe as a unit, completed unit. Maybe you have everything together and that's their test grade instead of having a vocabulary test. So I thought that was really good. I'm going to move on. I've talked about some of these other activities before. So links and resources. Here are all the links and resources for the vocabulary. There's tons of different activities. I just can't wait to dive into all these. And of course, I'm not at my school to go and make a list and make printouts. We're doing everything online. So here are the resources. I hope you get to check them out. Also, I have tons of foldable resources as well as videos that show you how to do different things. I just thought they were so exciting. More resources. And then I provided some information about digital learning too, because we may be doing more digital learning this year. So I thought it would be great for you to have it. I found a site with 20 Zoom icebreaker games and 12 Kahoot alternatives. So I thought those were helpful. I'm glad you could join us, and I hope you found this useful. Please feel free to reach out to me at janice.ritchie@dcssga.org if you have any questions. Thank you.